Half a day, everybody. My name is Aldebert Deleon Guerrero, and I am the Joeten-Kiyu Public Library's IT specialist. Today, I, along with Songsong, will be covering all there is to know about the JKPO's Computer Center, as well as explain how we responded and adapted to the COVID-19 pandemic in this two-part presentation. Now, it is evident that the pandemic has completely changed the way that we handle and approach things in our everyday lives, and the library is, of course, no exception to that. With that said, the first part of the presentation, which I will be taking care of, will serve to give a succinct overview of the JKPO's Computer Center. Now I'll be explaining everything that ranges from its staff and schedule to the resources and services that it offers to the public. Now with that said, allow me to kick off the presentation by introducing you all to the JKPL's Computer Center staff. Now the Joeten-Kiyu Public Library's Computer Center staff consists of 5 members. The first member of the team is Omar Manacop, who is the systems librarian and the Computer Center staff's main supervisor. The second and third members, who you will find serving directly under him, are Joey M. Songsong, the JKPL's Computer Programmer 2, and Ray Jr. Deleon Guerrero, the Computer Specialist 1. The fourth member is myself, and I serve directly under Joey Songsong as the IT Specialist. And last but not least, our fifth member and the newest addition to the team is Seth C. Cepeda, and he is also one of the JKPO's newest interns. He has been a part of the team for a few months now and will be with us for a couple months more. And these are the 5 members that make up the Computer Center staff. Now moving on to our schedule. Now the Computer Center follows the exact same schedule as the Joeten-Kiyu Public Library. From Tuesdays to Thursdays we start at 10 a.m. and end the day at 6 p.m. On Fridays we begin the day at 1:30 p.m. and end at 7 p.m. On Saturdays we start at 9 a.m. and conclude the day at 4 p.m. And as per usual, the Joeten-Kiyu Public Library is closed on Sundays, Mondays, and holidays. Now the library closes 15 minutes prior to the end of the day, which gives the staff ample time to wrap up their work and make any necessary preparations for the next day, clock out, then leave. Now 15 minutes before that, the front desk circulation delivers a closing announcement to their patrons, which gives them enough time to check out any of the books that they're interested in. And the Computer Center does the exact same thing. We also deliver a closing announcement to our patrons so that they have enough time to either print anything that they need or at least save their progress on whatever work is being done. And with that said, that is pretty much our schedule. Moving on to the next slide, I will be talking about our policies. So the Computer Center follows a strict set of policies. Our first one being, of course, no food or drinks. Like with any area with computers, food or drinks are strictly prohibited. Next, of course, no talking. We like to keep the Computer Center a stress-free, comfortable, and of course noise-free environment. So talking is of course prohibited. Up next, no sleeping, no taking photos or videos, and our patrons must place their cell phones on silent. Whenever a patron happens to have to take a call in the Computer Center, we approach them and kindly ask them to exit and take their call outside. Next up, no adult sites or viewing of any inappropriate content whatsoever. And lastly, no copyright infringement. And with our policies out of the way, I will now be focusing on the Computer Center's requirements. In order to avail of the resources provided by the Computer Center, such as using the computers and a free Wi-Fi, our patrons must be able to meet these 3 requirements, 4 if applicable to you. Firstly, all patrons must have a valid JKPL library card. Secondly, the patron's card account must be cleared of fines. And just a little footnote here, if the fines are $5 or more, they are not eligible to use our resources. But if the fines are $4 or less, they are free to use the resources, but are heavily encouraged to clear their fines before it continues to build up and become a problem. And moving on to our third requirement, you must be 9 years old and up. And our last requirement, if applicable to you, If you are a patron that is 13 years old or younger, you must have an adult supervising you at all times. And that pretty much wraps up our requirements. Now moving on to our resources. Now divided amongst the 3 islands, there are currently 22 all-in-one or AIO PCs. On Saipan at the Joeten-Kiyu Public Library, there are 14 AIOs. On Tinian at the Tinian Public Library, there are 4 AIOs. And at Rhoda at the Antonio C. Atelic Memorial Library, there are the last 4 AIOs. Moving on, there are 3 desktops at the Rhoda ACA-ML. There are 3 personal laptop stations at the JKPL. There is 1 Americans with Disabilities or ADA workstations at the JKPL. And of course, all 3 library locations have free Wi-Fi available. And lastly, there are open ebooks available as well. Now moving on to our technology upgrades. Now these recent tech acquisitions have given us massive upgrades to our computer center workstations and laptops, and has also given us new opportunities to reach communities on island and even showcase the library in brand new ways. Firstly, one of the biggest acquisitions for the computer center is our Technology Mobile Express, otherwise known as the TME. This computer center on wheels allows us to venture out into the hard-to-reach villages and communities on island and essentially bridge the gap to individuals and the families there that don't typically have access to computers and tablets and various technology. We are extremely excited to bring this out to several villages on the island in hopes of connecting to the people on a deeper level and of course improving their learning and proficiency in technology. Next, we recently acquired 26 all-in-one PCs and 12 laptops that will be used at the JKPL, the Tinian Public Library, and the Antonio C. Atelic Memorial Library. Now these PCs and laptops are equipped with up-to-date specifications, which basically means that speed and performance will not be an issue for the staff and will definitely not be an issue to our patrons as well. And another notable acquisition is the DJI Mavic 2 Pro drone. This drone is capable of capturing 4K footage and also taking photos in 4K quality. We believe that this will undoubtedly allow us to elevate the library's video value to a whole new level and also work to effectively draw in the attention of old and even new patrons. And we have new technology on the way which will improve the quality of the experience at the library. We have cameras coming in the near future which will work to improve the JKPO security, and we also have access points that will allow our patrons to connect to the network from large distances. And we have so much more on the way, and in the meantime, these are our notable technology upgrades. That brings us to our next and last topic in this presentation, services. Now the JKPL Computer Center offers quite a bunch of useful services to the public that come in the form of free computer classes and independent learning. The computer classes, except for resume building, which is taught by a guest instructor, are taught by Songsong, and they cover a broad area of topics such as basic computer, basic Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. Now we're moving on to our next type of service, independent learning. Now we offer independent learning to patrons that are mostly interested in improving their keyboarding and mouse control skills. Basically, what we do is give them some helpful tips and direct them to online websites that will help them gain proficiency in their mouse control as well as their keyboarding skills at not only the library but also in the comfort of their own home. And lastly, I almost forgot to mention, the Computer Center also happens to plan their very own events. For example, we had the pleasure of planning this year's RDR, or Roy D. Reggae Game Day. This event was created to honor one of the JKPL's most beloved employees, the late Roy D. Reggae, by inviting patrons to participate in one of his favorite pastimes and hobbies, playing games. This flyer to the right was made for the celebration of this year's RDR Game Day and was prepared by the Computer Center. Now the next 2 slides will show you a few pictures that will show our patrons participating in this special event that was created to commemorate one of the library's most beloved employees. Right here is a photo of some of our patrons participating in RDR Game Day by playing a card game called Magic the Gathering, which is a game that Roy loved and enjoyed playing. And right here on our last slide is a photo of some of our patrons participating in RDR Game Day at the JKPL by playing Prodigy, an online educational RPG game. And with that said, that is pretty much our services, and game day was rather successful, and because of that we hope to plan more events in the future for the JKPL. And there you have it. This was pretty much a concise overview of the JKPL's Computer Center, and I sincerely thank you all for listening to my half of this two-part presentation. With that said, I will be handing the keys over to Joey Songsong, who will be giving everyone an in-depth look at how the Computer Center responded and adapted to the terrible and no good COVID-19 pandemic.
Thank you, Aldebert, for your presentation. And hello, everybody. My name is Joey Songsong. I am the Computer Programmer 2 under the Joeten-Kiyu Public Library. For my presentation, I will be talking about how the pandemic affected the library and what we did to adapt the protocols. So mask up and let's get started. Oh, and by the way, if you like our presentation, don't forget to give us a thumbs up at the end of the presentation, but don't subscribe because we have no channel. Thank you. I would like to start off by giving you a brief timeline of the struggles we had to go through during the pandemic. On March 15, 2020, non-essential government offices were reduced to 64 hours from the normal 80 hours. This was due to 3 typhoons that took a major toll on our economy, one in 2015 and 2 typhoons on 2018. The government declared a state of emergency. It was also due to the tourism dropping as a result of the pandemic. This notice was issued on February 7, 2020, so government offices were notified in advance of the austerity measures. On March 16, 2020, Executive Order 2020-004 was implemented for immediate government shutdown. This was when we were told to stay home and stay safe. 2 weeks later, on April 7, 2020, the Joeten-Kiyu Public Library staff received an even bigger hit when the CNMI government issued a 50% government personnel reduction. To be clear, this is not a termination or any sort of separation, but a furlough. Aside from the furlough staff, it was tough on the staff not included in the furlough because their workload has doubled and even tripled for some. It was also tough on our administrative side to decide on the 50% to keep the library operational once the government reopens. In other words, with the family atmosphere that we have, it was like being forced to choose between a brother or sister over another brother or sister. The next date happens almost 2 months since the shutdown. On May 18, 2020, government offices reopened for half day. This is when protocols had to be in place to ensure that all measures were taken to prevent any spread. This would last for 1 week. Moving on to the second half of our timeline, on May 24, 2020, which was the following week after reopening half day, government offices are open for the full day. Protocols were in place for a successful reopen. But although the government offices are open for the full day, the 64-hour reduction was still in place due to the state of the economy. My part of this presentation will be more focused on this and the upcoming timelines. On February 9, 2021, Directive 2021-002 was implemented for the reduction in force. This was the full separation for the 50% of staff that has been furloughed in the start of the pandemic. On March 19, 2021, Directive number 2021-003 was implemented to cancel the reduction in force. So all the 50% that were separated has been unseparated a month after the separation was made. In addition, the 50% were no longer under furlough and returned to work. And finally, all employees returned to normal 80-hour work schedules. Dry your tears, because this sad movie turned out to be a happy ending. Or you can cry tears of joy. Your choice. On June 18, 2021, the CNMI moves to Community Vulnerability Level Green. Also, I'd like to add that around this time, our library has started on major renovations and upgrades to our network infrastructure. Taking us back to the reopening after the shutdown, the Joeten-Kiyu Public Library has implemented guidelines to prevent the spread of COVID. Now, more than ever, the public needs access to the internet to stay up to date and take advantage of opportunities during the pandemic. We provided this with the following guidelines. Before using a workstation, the patron needs to contact us by phone to make an appointment in advance to make sure that they have a computer for them. If you take a look at the photo on the left, we place the workstations apart to maintain social distance. Workstations are numbered, so each patron knows which computer is assigned to them. We've also moved the computers to an open space rather than in a small enclosed room before the pandemic. We limit the patron's time to 30 minutes but can extend the time if they've made the request on the phone or if there are no appointments scheduled when his time expires. We also provide assistance whenever a patron requests while maintaining distance. At times it will be tough to see the screen at a distance, but we were able to make it work. And finally, for workstations, we sanitize the computer before opening the library and after every use. If you take another look at the photo, you will notice that we've covered the keyboards and mice with clear wrap, which we replace or spray alcohol after each use. It's a bit difficult to see the keyboards and mice further down, but they were clear wrapped as well. For Wi-Fi access, we use captive portal to control bandwidth. The amount of devices connected to our Wi-Fi isn't a big issue since our Wi-Fi system can handle a heavy load. Our captive portal allows us to create vouchers and hand them out in small slips whenever a patron requests to use the Wi-Fi. Each voucher has a time limit of 1 hour and can only be used one time. If the patron requests for more time, they can be issued another voucher. We recommend patrons to use the Wi-Fi outside the library in order to maintain the occupancy of the building. Since we are in the midst of the pandemic, the Joeten-Kiyu Public Library wants to help the public by providing free printing services only to help those who are applying for pandemic unemployment assistance or PUA for short, and also those who are applying for jobs. We've received a lot of positive feedback from this. We've provided some of our resources online for those who have access to the internet anywhere outside the library and advertised it using our website as one of the methods. You are more than welcome to visit our page at www.cnmilib.org to get more information about our library. If you scroll down to the middle of our page, you will see the online resources, which I'll be talking about in later slides. Oh, by the way, in case you're wondering, this is me on the right side, and no, I was not photoshopped into the picture. Another way we've advertised our online resources is by social media such as Facebook. You're welcome to visit our Facebook page, or even better, follow us on Facebook to stay up to date with what we've been up to. Now for our available online resources. First is Enterprise, which is our online catalog for patrons to see our inventory of books available and place a hold on the book if they wish. Patrons can access Enterprise by clicking on the online catalog button located at the top of the main Joeten-Kiyu Public Library page. Another is Access 360, which is our inventory of ebooks that they can borrow by installing the Access 360 app that is available on the App Store for Apple devices or on the Google Play Store for Android. Patrons can also sign into Access 360 by going to the Joeten-Kiyu Public Library website and clicking on Access 360 under Online Resources. We also have EBSCO Host, which is an online database of journal entries for research purposes. Patrons can also find EBSCOhost on our main page under online resources. We have Gale, which like EBSCO is an online database for research and can be accessed at the same location as all the other online resources. Niche Academy is a collection of online tutorials that are in different forms, from reading materials to videos. There are two ways that patrons can access Niche Academy on our website. One is with all our other list of online resources, and the second is by clicking on the widget to the right of our webpage. Read Squared is another online resource where patrons can track books that they've read and meet goals provided by the Read Squared website. Mango Languages is our newest online resource available. This resource allows patrons to learn different languages such as Spanish, Hawaiian, and surprisingly, how to speak pirate. So far there aren't any Micronesian languages available, but hopefully we have them on the list soon. This concludes our presentation. Thank you all and stay safe. Checkmate, COVID.